Art, ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, if we could have, we could have roll call, please.
Yes, Division 1, Kim Gerald Johnson here. Division 2, Jose Luis Medina. Division 3, Rebecca Rodotti Byrne is absent this evening. Division 4, Edric Castellan. Division 5, Ross Stasia.
Sure.
I just want to reiterate, in case anybody missed it, that Mrs. Byrne is not able to join us tonight. Okay, any presentations or recognitions?
None this evening, no.
Okay. Any public comments on items not on the agenda? Okay, we'll go ahead and move to the consent calendar. Does anyone have any questions or items they'd like to pull from the consent calendar? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the consent
I
calendar?
move to approve the consent calendar. I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed, motion passes 4-0. Yeah. Okay. The next item concerning 5.1 concerning the adoption of the resolution of intention, Mr. DeGuy, do you want to address that?
Yes, at the request of the developer, that item has been pulled and will be brought back at a later date.
Is this the second time they pulled it?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Um,
Mr. Owen will be in contact with their attorneys to discuss the proceedings.
The problem is when the paperwork's put together, because I asked Mr. DeGuy about this earlier today, you have to have a date on this when it's going to the board. So we don't physically have the stuff in our possession, but we already have to set a board date. So I guess that's part of what's going on is we set a board date thinking they're going to follow through and then they don't follow through and then we end up in the situation. But they do need to understand that the third time is not the charm and they need to do what they need to do. Anyway, okay, so item 5.2, fiscal year 2023-24 budget workshop, Mr. DeWitt.
Yes, it's that time of year to present to the board the draft budget. The budget personnel committee and staff been working hard to get to where we're at right now. I think we're in a good situation as proposed. We're sitting in the black. Not by a whole lot, but and every day Loretta comes in with something to dwindle it down, but we are looking good. So with that, I'm gonna jump right into it here. I have a little PowerPoint available for us. So it's our budget workshop for 23-24. That starts July 1 of this year. Just a recap for you guys going back a couple of years, our general fund and our CFP budgets. We're really primarily talking on the general fund tonight, but I wanted to show you as a whole where we're at. Combined, we're going to be at $8.1 million, about a $1.2 million increase from the current fiscal year. And frankly, as you look at these numbers here, the general fund and CFD have been keeping pace on growth with each other. They're basically balanced or basically equal to each other. But looking at this going back to 2016-17 to where we're at now, we're 2.5 times what we were at that point. So the district's making a tremendous growth. Some of our highlights here, we're at 4 million, just over 4 million in projected revenues for the general fund. Our maintenance assessment numbers are estimated, and we anticipate getting the final numbers in, later this month. I think we actually did get them today, so we'll be updating those numbers going forward here. Our recreation numbers, we're always still looking at fine tuning just to make sure that we're where we need to be coming forward. Some of the highlights in this budget that we've been proposing with the the budget personnel committee is the addition of a new recreation specialist. As we're growing, we need more help to continue to offer these great programs, activities that we're putting on. Also, new maintenance facility inspector. The maintenance inspector is something that we've had in the past. We're adding the title of facilities to it as well. Right now, our building maintenance falls under the recreation manager, and we're going to move it under our maintenance department for consistency. I think it's going to be makes a lot of sense for multiple things going forward. We also have a proposed cost of living of 4%. That's in the budget. It's not really a budget impact per se, but it falls under the budget personnel. One of the things we've been talking about is the addition of the one floater holiday. Over the past couple of years here, the state of California has recognized a couple of different new holidays here. The committee, felt it was not something that we could necessarily recognize all of the holidays. We're getting to the point that we still need to be open to the public. We do provide community service and providing it as a floater holiday in which the employee can use kind of at their discretion. Would still keep our office open, wouldn't impact our operations. And it really doesn't have an impact on the operation or budget per se. And the big thing is we're gonna talk about is the cost of everything is just going up. You guys are very well of that. If you've been to any store, bought anything in the last year, it wasn't what it used to be. Recreation, we have some proposed increases to the special events budget. Our events are growing. Adding elements to our events are costing more to do. We are looking at the addition of a floor machine for the gymnasium. Right now, we're having to mop that by hand. It's something that we've had in the past. It frankly died. Wasn't something that we made a priority on, but looking at it, and the time we're spending to mop that gym floor on a regular basis will be the cost of it will recover very quickly. It is about a $6,000 purchase. Again, not huge, but it'll be a huge impact on the maintenance of the facility. Not only our maintenance department will use it on a regular basis, but also our recreation staff will prepping before games, stuff along those lines. So,
What's beyond repair?
old ones beyond repair. Yeah, it's
Do we even still have?
we do not even have it. It was about 20 years old, no longer available for parts. So, we are going to a new format in the recreation brochure, which will be a full page. Instead of kind of a half sheet like it is now. It'll be 8.5 by 11 instead of, was it 5 1/4 by 5 1/4 by 8.5 is what it is. That'll give us better use of our space. Not really gonna change a difference in our mailing costs. Not gonna be a huge difference in the postage or the printing, because it's not gonna change the total number of pages per se, but there is slight art fees that are gonna go up for that. We have talked about it a little bit here, but 2024 will be the 40th anniversary of the districts, since we were formed in 1984. So we put some money in the recreation budget for that as well. Not really talking a specific special event per se to honor that. But it's gonna be, we'll update our logo, throw a 40th on it type of a deal. We'll have some special stuff throughout the year, some special branding. A lot of these details still have to be finalized. That's kind of what we're thinking on. And so this will be an impact that'll impact not just this budget we're talking about, but the next year's budget as well, the 24.
Like giveaways at our events.
Exactly, yeah, some increased giveaways, things along those lines. A little extra flares and stuff here and there. We're still kicking around some ideas, but concerts in the park next year, which would be 2024, may be more themed. JRPD through the decades, for 80s, 90s, things like that. Trying to play off of that, have some
I see some cool T-shirts for staff to wear.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. You want to play it up. It's a big deal. So we're looking at that. And then one of the things we've talked about, it really wouldn't be until October of 24, which again will be next year's budget, but some sort of luncheon to recognize everybody that's been part of the district over the last 40 years is still around. I think it's a big milestone for our district. But again, that's over a year away that we'll be talking about. But we need to make note of it, and the strides the district's made over those 40 years, going from literally West Memorial Park District at 2 parks to JRPD at 8, so we're at 38, and at this time we'll probably be in the low 40s. With what we have coming right now. So that's huge for us. And one of the things our recreation staff is looking at and becoming before the board here is our cost of programs, cost of service for everything. Everything is costing us more money, utilities, everything. We have to, build that into our program costs. So we're trying to make as minimal impact as we can on the public, but it's just something that is, unfortunately inevitable. For the maintenance, water, that's always our biggest expense besides staffing. We are doing a great job controlling our water costs. The rain this year has been huge. We all understand that. Parks look great right now, but our staff has done a great job of really making sure our irrigation system is working properly. If it's not working properly, we're wasting water. Literally, if a head's not rotating, we're watering a path, not a circle or arc that it's designed for. Because of that, we've spent more money on some irrigation parts the last couple of years. But in the long run, it's going to still save us money. But we're still watching that. And you guys may remember too, I did talk about it late last year. Rubio Community Services District and updated their fee structure. My brief analysis on it is going to benefit us because they came up with an irrigation rate for us, similar to what JCSD had in place. And then I had talked to their general manager and board members about it. And they kind of did it without even talking to us about it. And when I did the numbers and ran it, I think we're going to save money in the long run. We're going to spend a little bit more money in the winter months when we're not watering as much, but in the summer months when Avalon and Veterans Memorial hit their tier 4, there were some pretty significant charges. The other park that's on that would be Sky Park is on Rubio, and now we don't have anything to compare to, but Shadow Rock is also serviced by Rubio Community Services District. Soccer Park is serviced by Rubio Community Services District, but it's literally just the drinking fountain. It's a drinking fountain, the restaurant, it's a minimal charge that you won't see any difference on. Vandalism, as you're well aware, has been a huge issue for the district this past year. We unfortunately had some recent vandalism to the lights at Veterans Memorial Park. They stole some wire. Our electrician is a very smart guy and understands the cost of these things and always tries to work with us to figure out the best ways to fix some stuff. We did have about a $6,000 hit to that, but it could have been much, much worse. They were able to find a junction box that was buried and able to splice some of those and save some money there, but it continues to go up. Increased fuel costs. You guys, same thing at the pump, you're filling the hit, it hits us at the district too. Increased material costs, everything from PVC to sprinkler parts to toilet paper is going up across the board there. But one of the big things that I'm kind of excited about here is that we've been talking about is we've added in the budget is a park and facility inspection software. Liability is one of our biggest concerns here at the district. And we're doing our park inspections by hand still with paper. And I think our staff does a good job and stays on top of it, but there's always room for, somebody slacking off. The inspection software will bring it to the forefront of technology. It'll be a tablet, Android-based tablet that will be issued, and the software will be on there, and your inspections are done on the tablet. The nice thing about it is, if there's a problem, say there's graffiti, you snap a picture of graffiti, and then if you painted it out, you took care of it, and it's been rectified. If it's massive graffiti or something that can't be taken care of right there, and you put that you can't take care of it at that moment, it creates a work order, and it stays on until it's marked as completed. So if there's bigger vandalism, something's broken or something like that, it'll go into our inspection reports. The problem we have right now is it doesn't necessarily do that. We mark down that the table's broken. Sometimes it's well, I already reported that last week. I don't need to report it this week. And it just falls to the wayside and gets forgotten. This won't allow that to happen. And it takes pictures and it documents it. And then we can come back and in the back end assign costs to different things. Some of the parameters we can put in there on the graffiti was how big was it? It was 3 foot by 4 foot, section. And we put in there that it costs us X amount of dollars per square foot to paint it out. We can assign a dollar amount now at the end of the year, be able to run a report for you guys that says graffiti cost us X. And on top of it, we now have a picture of that graffiti for every piece that's taken, and it's in our system. And if the sheriff catch this guy, we can go back and say every piece of graffiti that was this moniker, it cost us this much money. And like we said, we'll be able to get restitution, you can get 12 cents for the next 50 years on it, but we might get something. But it'd just be a better way for us to track our vandalism, our graffiti, and that we are getting to dangers and liability in the district in a timely manner, that nothing is falling through the cracks. So if we have to pull up something, we can go back and say, no, here's the picture of this. You know, that did not exist a year ago or whatever it is, where a claim being filed against the district. If this was something that literally happened overnight that we weren't aware of, you shouldn't be liable for it. In the paper system that we're using now, we don't have that ability. We attended a training with Capri that was actually held here at Skyview that they came down and provided for the agencies in Southern California. An example they gave, and it was an agency that was still doing the paperweight. And it was a bollard at the edge of a park between the park and the road that somebody had fallen on the footing and got hurt, severely hurt. And they filed a claim against the district, and the district said, we didn't know about that. They look at our reports, never said anything about it. Well, the attorney pulled up Google Earth or Google Street View and went back to history and was able to show that that bollard was missing for 6 years, like something amazing. And it was just like, this was a real eye opener to Red and me. We're like, yeah, we need to make sure we're getting a better system in place to protect the district here. It's about a $10,000 startup on it. And then it's a $6,500 a year after that. But it'll be huge for us. We don't have to have Wi-Fi, which is one of the reasons that we've selected the software we have. It's app-based. And when we get back to the shop, the tablet will connect to Wi-Fi and upload to the servers. So now all that data is protected in the cloud and available to us. And the other nice thing is they recommend the Android tablets, not because they're cheaper, but because the Apple tablets don't have true GPS in them. Their GPS is based off cell signal. You have to have a cell signal, as well as to the Android, you don't have to. So we're
There's a new Android tablet, I can't remember the name, but they are saying that it is Android based, so it has all that. But they said it is an absolute rival to the iPad. And they're inexpensive, you know.
The tablet, they recommend the tablet. I forget, I have it written down. It's a Samsung, just based on the price, they're $185 type of a deal. It's not huge. It's bigger than a cell phone. It's a smaller one to where it's not cumbersome to the staff to be carrying around. It does everything we need. We'll put the protective cases on them, you know. So we're excited for that. And then we're also gonna be able to transition it into the facilities that we can do a lot of our inspections, opening and closing inspections for the parks and the facilities as well. So for a rental, if staff's going through a rental and they're cleaning up and they find damage or graffiti and snap a picture, it goes into the report itself. This provides much better documentation.
Are you able to retroactively input data? So like the old paper stuff?
No, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know if it's would be worth it for us. Don't go look in Kurt's office right now. You'll be like, that's the reason we're trying to go from this, the amount of paper we have, and we have to keep it. We've been scanning it all, you know, but we have to keep it for 7 years. So you figure we have 38 parks, 1 inspection a week, 52 weeks a year. Paper, you understand where we're at. Plus it'll do our vehicle inspections, plus it'll do our, we think we can do our accident incident reports on them as well. So it's gonna streamline a lot of things for us.
While you're still on this slide, I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
With the cost of materials going up, I know I talked to you about this in the past and you didn't think it was worth it. But with the cost of materials going up, why are we not looking into an inventory control system?
That's something we're actually implementing also an asset management system this year that has a role into the ability to grow to a inventory control system as well.
Right, because I know we've talked before about having a million PVC parts,
Yep,
you know, that's sitting there. We keep going out and buying more because we don't know they're there. And you can use it for everything from, you know, maintenance supplies to janitorial supplies.
yep.
And I think with the cost of things going up, we need to be able to control that inventory and stop throwing money where we don't need it.
We've had some discussions this past week in regards to reiterating what qualifying purchases should be made locally versus what we're buying in bulk. So I understand completely where you're at. It's something that we're probably, if we're not there right now, we are very close to needing to do something like that.
I thought we should have done something like that a couple years ago.
And I'm in agreement with Mr. Leisure.
So we can start looking at that and making that a priority as well. Our challenges, inflation, job material shortages, although it is getting better. Staffing, as you guys are aware, has been a challenge. Again, it's getting better, but we are seeing somewhat of what I call a domino effect, but still from the pandemic. You know, during the pandemic, a lot of people got laid off. A lot of people relocated, didn't go back to their current positions. Public agencies are typically very slow at hiring and filling. We've lost a couple employees to, we lost one employee this past year to a position she'd applied for 18 months prior to, you know, during the pandemic type of a deal. And so we've recently lost a couple employees that have, because another agency is filling a position that they lost an employee from. So it's just that domino effect. I thought it was over. I changed my mind. You know, I'm thinking maybe we're halfway through it. So it's just gonna be a constant challenge here. And the other thing too, just remind the board is actually the draft is ready to go out to RFP. Our landscape maintenance contract expires this October. Anticipating about a 15% increase. And the budgets reflect that currently. So, you know, hopefully it's not that much, but you know, we all understand these contractors are facing the same challenges we are too. Cost of fuel, cost of labor, cost of their equipment's all gone up as well. So it's going to get passed on to us. What we're looking at currently, annually budgeting for elections. Right now, we have elections every other year. We budget $40,000 to $60,000, depending on the cycle, 2 or 3 positions that are open. We're looking at and working with our accountant in a way that we could budget flat dollar amount every year and put it basically into a savings account that we can pull from and, you know, get that up to a certain dollar amount. I can tell you this year we budgeted $38,000 for elections. We did not, you guys are aware, we did not have any elections this year. Both members were opposed. And we just got the bill literally Tuesday, yesterday. It was only
$2,110
combined. So we saved $35,000, which is great. But we're having to budget for this every other year. It's an up and down type of deal. If we can just say, you know, 20 grand type of a year, and whatever's left over, put it away for the rainy day. And once we have 50 or 60 grand put away, we can lower that number to something that's not such a hit to our budget every year. We're also talking about the same things for our benefits. You know, Loretta always budgets high, a 10% increase in our benefits. And we've been lucky, we've only been averaging 4 and 5% the most. But one of these days, they tell us every year, your medical, your dental, your vision is going to go through the roof. It's going to go up 20%. You hear these horror stories. If we can take that savings, you know, we're budgeting 10%, we only see a 5%. We can put that savings into an account for that rainy day. When that hits, it's not going to be a huge impact to our budget, just saving for the rainy days. We're working on how we establish those accounts within our budget with Rick Gallo, our accountant, so we can start budgeting towards that. The other thing that I've been watching closely here is the state passed a new law regarding EVs and our vehicle fleet. We have to get to a point where 50% of our fleet is EVs. So how that directly impacts us, that's beginning in 2025. we're still a couple of years out. I personally think it's a great thing for us, honestly. My only concern is there's not an electric vehicle right now that meets our needs. Ford, Chevy, Dodge all make a full-size half-ton pickup truck, but I would call it the supervisor truck. It's an extra cab, short bed, not a work truck, you know. I'm assuming they're gonna come down as it becomes more readily available and these mandates are in place that we're gonna be able to get kind of the base model truck in an electric vehicle. You know, a longer bed, you know, they only come with a 5-foot bed type right now. That's just not gonna work for our staff. 2x4s would be sticking out all day long. You know, just not feasible. So we're watching this. And then we still need to maintain some larger trucks within our fleet for towing and stuff like that. There's no 3/4 1-ton electric vehicles commercially available. You can get them third party and stuff, but so we're waiting to see how this is going to truly impact us. But it's something we are watching. So just kind of want to put that on your radar here.
When does the state update go through for selling gas vehicles? Is that 2030?
Like 30 or 35. I think it's
36.
Yeah. So we've got a number of years for that still. But just something that we're on the lookout for. And then, you know, as you guys are aware, we put in this current year budget, we bought 2 new half-ton pickup trucks through the state contract, and knowing that it's going to take a while for them to come in, we're anticipating the next month or so still. We got a great price on them, and I've looked, and we can't get a price anywhere near that, but we're having to look. We have a pretty good fleet, to be honest, with the exception of one. It's actually something I'm going to bring forward to the board at the next meeting here to replace our vehicle that we use for park closing. It's just at the point now that it is no longer a viable, dependable vehicle for us to maintain. And we're looking at a small hybrid pickup truck that will it'll increase the mileage by almost 2.5 times the speed. So
Remind us what we're supposed to get the 2 new vehicles.
So the 2 new vehicles are for the maintenance department. It'll replace our oldest truck, which is was Jesse's old 1-ton pickup truck that we don't need. We're replacing it with a half-ton pickup truck that's currently driven by Ron. It's a 2012 with 200, just shy of 200,000 miles on it. It gets 8 miles a gallon or 9 miles a gallon, going uphill, downhill, tailwind doesn't make a difference. And then the other one is the old 1-ton dually that was used when we did our own mowing in-house. We have a 1 person driving around with that, never towing the vehicle. It just doesn't make sense. It's only a 2016, I believe. Still a great vehicle. We'll send both those vehicles to auction. We'll get decent prices on them. But we'll replace both those with half-ton pickup trucks. We just don't need those massive trucks at this point.
But you don't want to order the new truck through the state contract.
No, because I'll be honest with you, I don't think it's gonna last.
Do we not have a truck that's currently not being used because someone?
We could rotate it in at night, a vehicle that's not being used during the day. The reality is, it's just gonna be more miles on that truck that gets poor mileage anyways. And there's times in which we need it for other stuff. We're looking at the Ford Maverick, the hybrid base model we can get for about $24,000 plus tax from a local dealer here. And it averages, it says 40 miles per gallon around town, so it means it's going to get 35, 37, something like that. We're averaging in this current truck, it's the Chevy Colorado we have, less than 15.5 miles per gallon. It's just, I'll be honest with you, we got a call today that the battery was dead. And I'm like, one more thing, we gotta put money in the stupid truck on. It's a money pit.
I just thought we might currently have a vehicle that's not being used because
No.
that person is not.
We have no vehicles not being used right now.
The one I think you're picking up was not using it.
Doesn't have a vehicle assigned to it.
Oh, because they were just at one site.
They were at one site, so it's not a vehicle.
Okay, that's all.
I get what you're. So we're gonna look at that. So I'll come forward next agenda here. luckily, we've got some savings in the CFDs and general fund that will offset costs.
If we looked into the budget, we had discussed adding a second park closer.
We're looking at our options for that. We're also looking at a security company as well. And that'll be something that we bring forward here. The issues right now is not really with our closing. Our real true issue right now is our park openings on the weekends. We've just hired a part-time maintenance personnel that will help with that. The problem we have right now is on the weekend. Saturday or Sunday doesn't really matter. But the maintenance person starts at 6 a.m. First priority is getting Vernal open by 7. When the walkers start showing up, the youth league starts showing up shortly after that. You've got to get to Riverbend, Clay Park, Shadow Rock now, Veterans Memorial by really 8 o'clock. That's just not feasible.
Wait,
They didn't lock the bathrooms at Clay. Clay's a great I think Glen Avon Heritage. And then with the summer months starting here in 2 weeks with the splash pads kicking on, even though they're open to 11, we've got to get there and get those, make sure they're ready to go for the day as well. So bringing on that second maintenance personnel to work weekends is going to be a huge help for us. And then after we get everything open, they can tend to other stuff. We're going to assign one of them most likely will head over to the soccer park at least on Saturdays for the afternoon shift there. So that'll be our big issue. Our concerns on closing the parks hasn't been as bad as we thought it was going to be. The reality is the newness of Shadow Rock is already starting to wear off. So that's not been as bad as we had anticipated. But it's going to come to a point that sometime, we're going to have 2 sets out there closing the park, or it's going to take 5-6 hours to close the district. So.
And then are we going to wait buying a vehicle for that? Because if we hire a security company, won't that be,
Correct. And that's what we're looking at right now as to what the rate is for the security, what the rate is with the vehicle, and then what they charge them for mileage. If it's a safety issue or not, we still have that liability aspect that I would love to transfer. Not going to limit something.
Plus, I'm not used to, 24,000 on
Yeah, exactly.
a car. We don't need to spend if we're hiring a security company.
Correct. Yeah, so we wouldn't. I still think we still need this vehicle no matter what for other stuff that's used by the recreation staff during the day as well.
Or if we needed to open parks on week, I get that. I just want to make sure we're.
No, and that's what we'll look at before we do the second closing crew. Does it make sense to have a security company do it? It's one of the things we're looking at right now, because if we're bringing in the security at the soccer park, they're having some minimums that we're not quite meeting. So we're like, hey, let's look at adding this to their contract. We've got a couple parks fairly close, being Veterans Memorial, Shadow Rock, Cantera. Maybe that can be part of their contract now, make it more palatable for these minimums that they want. So we're looking at those right now as well. So.
Yes, so for the EV requirement, a hybrid vehicle counts as a 50%.
That's what we're trying to decide. What I read the other day, the hybrid vehicle does not. But it's a 0 emissions. So can you do a natural gas vehicle on some of these bigger trucks, stuff like that? It was just, I read the article from the Senate, the state had passed it. They're still waiting for the governor to sign it into law. They anticipated it would be. All the details weren't really readily available in the article, and how it's going to roll out. And then there's things that you can apply for waivers on too, and there's things that are exempt, if you're, think about a municipal water district and an electric vehicle that's a 3-ton pickup truck because they've got the backhoes on the back, what's realistic, what's not. Also like the CHP was one thing you talked about, electric vehicles not going to work for the amount of miles that they're driving with the current technology. There's certain things that you can exempt that would be exempted out on and waivers and stuff like that. The reality is I don't think we would have anything that qualifies us. Again, I don't think it's something that any of us are opposed to the concept either. We just got to make sure that it's the right vehicles available to us. You know, we can't put our maintenance guys in a Prius. You know, it's just not going to work. So
So do we also kind of have to think about charging stations?
correct. You know, the reality is most of these vehicles have a range of 200-ish miles, give or take. Our guys average 25-ish miles a day. So you'd have to, you know, theoretically charge once a week. So they don't have to all charge every single night. You know, so we could have 1 or 2 charging stations at each location and be able to rotate it around where you parked. And, you know, we'd set timers on it because the cheap rates on electricity, as you're all aware, the time of use rates are in place now are 10 p.m. to 4 p.m. So we don't want our guys at the end of the day at 3:30 plug in and instantly go into the charging from 4 to 10 p.m. at the most expensive rates. You know, so we'd set timers that they plug them in when they leave, but the timer chargers don't kick on until 10 o'clock. You know, cheap rates.
Any other questions? Okay,
I really think this EV requirement is going to be something that's going to be a big discussion for us in the next couple of years as more information becomes available. And we'll look at what's out there. Our staffing, cost of living is one of our challenges here. This is one of the reasons why I think we're losing staff. The change in the workforce mentality is something that we've been really talking aloud about here in our admin the last 6-8 months. Merit increases and steps are something that we addressed last year. Competitive comprehensive employment packages is something we've had a lot of talk about. I know I've talked with some of the individual board members about it as well. It's not just a salary. We're looking at the package as a whole. I mean, how we can be, you know, competitive. We're never going to be at the top of the range. We understand that. We just want to be in the ballpark. So, you know, we're doing better at that. And what we can do for staff retention. You know, we've lost a lot of staff. We lost a lot of staff to the pandemic. We understand that was, you know, out of our control. You know, but we've lost a number of employees that have come in and been here less than a year. How can we not be that stepping stone per se? And we know with the new workforces, you know, gone are the day of people spending 7, 8, 10 years at an agency anymore. You know, I've come to accept that. But 3, 4, 5 years and not losing them all at the same time. We're working on ideas and how we can invest in our staff, training wise. We're working, Loretta's, myself, Zena, and Kurt are going to be doing a series of trainings with our staff, educating them more on the district budgets to the maintenance aspect, why we do certain things, and hopefully getting more of a buy-in from our staff. That's going to make them feel more of a team in the long run. Questions? We asked for a lot.
I think I asked my questions as we went along, so yeah.
well, and I appreciate the fact that, you know, you do have occasional discussions with the lower level staff about, because, you know, when you're young, you don't think about those things about how long is your commute and, you know, yes, they're going to pay you 50 cents more an hour, but what is that going to do for you in the long run? And this, that, and the other. And I appreciate that you have those conversations with them because, to be perfectly honest, the things that you think about, whether they work for us or work for somebody else.
I've always said the grass isn't greener, it's just a different shade.
I would say, to me, our biggest problem is that on both sides, the maintenance side and the recreation side, our org chart is fairly shallow. So if you're someone who's in your 20s, you did or did not get your college degree, whatever the case may be, there's just not a lot of places for you to go if you stay here. And I think that's going to be the biggest. I mean, we can't spend money and create jobs just for the sheer joy and heck of it. But you know, you can't complain about someone wanting to go take a job somewhere else that's got more growth potential for them. But that again, there's only so much we can do about that.
I do see some growth within the district over the next few years, you know, as we start to expand our tree some, put some branches to it. But again, it's not massive amounts of positions, but there's some opportunity there. I'm Ontario now. I saw a release today. The city of Ontario and their recreation department is hiring 5 senior supervisors currently, 16 more full-time staff over the next 3 years, and developing 300 acres of park. How are they doing that? I have no idea.
Yeah, with
So-
what money?
Well, it's Ontario Ranch. It's all the development.
Oh, I see.
It's, that's gonna be another city the size of, or
Yeah.
part of Ontario that's gonna be the size of River Valley, frankly. They're building a 150 acre sports complex.
Oh.
So, it's gonna be interesting to see, how that impacts. It's gonna impact a lot of stuff, for us. It's gonna be interesting. So, a couple years, still 4 or 5 years away, I think, but still, it's gonna be. But they're prepping for it, so
Right.
we'll see.
And then, of course, there's the problem that we have, not that we've really lost anybody to them, but JCSD pays their recreation staff water district prices. That's a problem.
Yes.
Just saying, it's a problem. No one's ever gonna come from there over here because they're not getting paid recreation salaries over there. They're getting paid water district salaries. So why would they ever come here? We haven't lost a lot of people to them, but I think an opportunity for someone to come from there, they won't come because we can't pay those, we can't pay water district salary. So it'd be real nice if JCSD stopped paying the recreation staff water district salaries. Maybe we'll talk to them about. Anything else on the budget?
Any recommendations to the budget committee? I think Mr. Leja's comment on the inventory control software is something that we'll have some discussions on.
I think in the long run, I think it might take about a year to really see results, but it will save us money. Stop waste that we know is out there. So,
I can tell you one of the priorities I have given the maintenance department is cleaning out the old bridge shop this past year. And they have done a phenomenal job. They found a lot of stuff that they didn't know that we had. Kirk calls it the giving tree. It keeps finding stuff. He told me today, he's like, Colby, the giving tree did it again today. He's like, we need 1.25 inch PVC. That's a very uncommon.
yes.
The giving tree had it. Like, all right.
Oh, that's funny. It isn't so much that I think we're losing things, it's that we have things and we forget that we have them and then we just go
Right.
buy them again.
Right, we just keep buying
Yeah.
things.
Oh,
The
yeah.
efficiencies are there.
And I can see where sprinkler parts would fall under that. I mean, especially because, but this way here, we set
Yep.
Kanban, we know exactly how much we need to have on hand. And you can even make it do automatic orders, depending on the, software
Yeah.
you buy. And then everything would have to go through the maintenance supervisor for approval. And, the guys put things on the truck, they're gonna need to log it out. They're gonna need to document it.
Well, that and even just our toiletries, our cleaning supplies.
Oh, yeah, like I said, Janco's price, I
Hey,
mean,
who took the last roll? Who took the last box of toilet paper? What,
Why do
Right.
we-
things
yeah.
like that.
where Robert, we have certain items set up on automatic reorder.
When it gets to a certain quantity left.
Now, of course, all this depends on the reliance of people actually documenting that they took it out.
Yeah, no, I understand that. And to be honest, that would be my biggest concern with the system.
And it's good, like I said, it's gonna take a little while to get people into it, but that's where you assign people to, this is your job. If somebody needs something, a bullet toilet paper for the bathroom, they've got to let you know, hey, I need this, and that way there, you can see, the person in charge can sign it out.
No, I get it. And it's not as, we're not checking out a roll of toilet.
No, I'm just saying,
Exactly.
for the sake of discussion here, but yeah.
Well, it's been my pet peeve. When I see they bought a package of 4 batteries or a flashlight, I just want to count my head against the wall. They should not be buying batteries. They should not be buying a flashlight. We should have those things.
And companies, like Uline actually have representatives that can come out and help you establish, assign part numbers and do things. Of course, there's a fee involved, but I mean, they can actually send a representative out that will help set all this up. because setting it up can be
That's the challenge.
a process, you know.
I think the one thing I want to bring up is the memorial wall. I mean, we had that whole discussion last week, or last meeting, about how we want to do a hard reset. And I just think part of the hard reset with the memorial wall is placing it in a better place at Memorial Park. I understand historically why it was put there. It's because the original person that was, the memorial wall was built in honor of, his name is escaping me. Yeah, Caballero. He was very involved in Little League and baseball there at Memorial Park. So they put the wall back by the baseball field. Completely understandable, except for the fact that it's turned into vandalism heaven, as we all know. And not inexpensive vandalism, and of course, particularly embarrassing vandalism, because no one wants anybody to go look at the wall and find that their relative's name has a crack through it because somebody decided to have it with a hammer. And I just think that we need to make plans to identify a spot and move the wall. And someplace up closer to the front where perhaps if a sheriff's deputy or any human being pulls into that front parking lot, they could see it up to a point so that there is more public visibility, so that perhaps it would not be as easily vandalized in deep, dark secret. And I was curious what the rest of you thought about that. About making that a staff priority to get.
And if I think I can elaborate on that, because Ms. Johnson did contact me and have a discussion about that. I think her goal was if we could come up with at least a pseudo master plan per se for Memorial Park and figure out where we want to put it at. And is it something that's feasible for 2 years down the road? Is that a realistic goal? I think is what
Yes.
we were kind of talking about.
And would that be a realistic goal? It's not a realistic goal to get it done in a year, of course not. But is it a realistic goal to get it done in 2 years? And do we want to, is it the board's desire to make that a priority so staff starts dealing with it? Which I think would include like contacting a landscape architect, having them look around the park just to make sure that
It's feasible.
it's feasible, that there is a spot that works out, that blah, 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 and that wouldn't be a huge cost. And that if it is, there is a spot, then I'm thinking if you're looking at Memorial Hall on the right-hand side there where all the trees are, and there's a flat wall there.
We don't want to get too much into the weeds on this.
No, I'm just saying,
Make sure, I think you're saying, do we want to put some money in the budget to,
that is a
Start the
possibility,
process.
but there may be other spots that work out just as well there.
yes.
Can we bring this up as a future item?
I think what Ms. Johnson is asking is it something you guys want to see somehow line item in the budget? In this budget cycle to start the
I think we've
process,
talked about it enough years to do that.
stop kicking the can down the road.
Yeah, because we've been talking about this since I've been on the board.
And probably
So-
before.
Okay, I think that's a great idea.
You're fine with that? Are you fine with that? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess just specific, I think maybe just discuss more details.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why we bring on an architect to tell us,
Figure out what the cost action is going to be.
Yeah, exactly. Current costs, and where the best location is, so we can start budgeting for it.
So I got a feeling it's gonna be not moving the wall, I feel it's gonna be rebuilding a new wall and tearing down.
Oh. Yes, no, it's not moving the
Yeah,
wall.
we're not moving.
You're not moving,
No,
we are
We're changing the
relocating.
location.
Yes.
We are creating a new wall in a new location.
Yeah.
Would some of those panels and things move over? Of course, but it would be. Because as we've learned, unfortunately, putting flat things on a curved wall invites vandalism. Because it's so much easier to break things because there's nothing behind. Yeah, it's just,
Yes, and the curved wall, the one time I found out a guy was barbecue and put it in there to protect it from the wind. He cracked one.
So then this would be something we would have a whole separate
Yeah,
probably
really,
meeting on the level.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
just wanted to know if that was okay with the rest of you, and it sounds like it is.
So for this budget,
What
For
we need
this
to
one
do.
and the next one, right?
They have to do that.
It would have to be,
Well, we would need to start the process now. We would need to bring in by next one, you mean July 1, 23, 24, right?
This is true.
no, I mean, For this, yeah. by
We,
this month,
we need to
that's
start we need to start the process now,
Right, and I think we should, like you said, quit kicking the can down. We've been doing this for years. So
yes, is realistically, could we have it done in a year? No. Could we set it up to where 2025 was the grand opening unveiling per se? I think that's realistic.
I think we need to have a firm timeline. I think 2 years down the road would be a good goal to achieve. I think it's possible. I think that's moving it, but I think it's possible to have it done in 2 years.
Well, we're not building a building.
No, that's what I'm saying. I think it's possible to have
Yes.
it done,
Perfect.
the whole process in 2 years. And I'd like to set that timeline for it, so.
So are you saying it would have to be in the 23-24 budget? Yes, not,
Yeah,
It's gonna be in both, right?
Yeah,
not 22,
that's what I was
Yeah.
doing.
yes.
I'm sure we can find room in this year, but this current budget for exploratory.
So it's all eligible under a part. So.
Okay, it's just a matter of allocating their time at this point. Okay, anything else on the budget, anyone? Okay, Mr. DeGuia, the general manager's report?
Yep, a couple things. Jump Fest was this past weekend. All things considered, I think for the first year was a success. All reports I got back was successful. We had a great time. Weather did impact us some. You know, it was a cool weekend, as you guys are all aware. Didn't seem to stop the kids in the bubble machine. They absolutely loved it. So that was a successful event, you know, by all accounts. So we've got some ideas on how to continue to grow in the future. Market night was this past Tuesday, and it's looking at a hard reset for that as well. Staff's kicking around some ideas right now on what we can do, what needs to happen to it to bring it back in whatever form to make it successful. Youth basketball, we have our skills assessment this weekend, and our summer league starts first weekend of June. So practice and stuff like that. So we're excited for that. We're coming up on our swim season as well with school ending. Swim lessons start that first week of June as well. Rubino High School in the morning, Rupert Valley High School in the evenings. We had been notified that we received the funding through First Five again for the scholarships. We are finding all the paperwork this week. So there's been an inundation of people coming in to apply for the scholarships and sign up for swim lessons. Again, probably, in my opinion, one of the most important things that we do offer to the community. So we're excited for that. Today, the Senior Center had their Mother's Day tea. If you haven't seen them, look at the Senior Center website.
Saw the photos.
Great. Looks like they had a phenomenal time there. Real fun. The staff over there, again, it continues to amaze us with what they're putting on. And the seniors just truly do enjoy what's being offered there. Next Thursday evening at the city council meeting will be the introduction of a new base jumping ordinance in the city of Rupert Valley, prohibiting that. That is something that I worked with the city staff to get going. They were very supportive of us, understanding the challenges that will happen at Shadow Rock. So that'll be the first reading of it. It takes 2 readings and a 30-day period, all that fun stuff. But that's just giving the sheriff more teeth to be able to enforce it. You know, our ordinances are a challenge for them to enforce sometimes. Really, when it comes down to it, ultimately becomes trespassing. And there's bigger teeth in that. So I will be unable to attend that evening, but I will be submitting a letter of support to the city council for the ordinance. Certain cities are doing it on our behalf. So we're very appreciative of that. And just a reminder to the board, myself and Loretta and Ms. Johnson will be out of town next Wednesday through Saturday, attending the CARPD conference up in just outside of Yosemite. So I will be available via email, text message, and cell phone as needed.
What was the attendance for Jump Fest?
Just shy of 700. Yeah, we'd hoped for 1,000. You know, I think the weather,
It was chilly.
it was chilly. Some of the other comments were we did compete with some Cinco de Mayo. It was the 6th. There was some rollover of that. I don't know how much that really truly impacted us or not. Something to think of. You know, I don't know, Jump Fest, we had to cancel back last September because that freak rain and windstorm we had. You know, the wind and weather impacted it again. I don't know, just doomed. I don't know. But honestly, they said the kids didn't care.
That was the phone bit.
It was The foam pit was, I don't know if you saw the pictures on social media and stuff, looked really cool. They said it was more soapy, so it wasn't necessarily the kids were drenched and wet from it, so it wasn't bad. That was it.
Okay, thank you. And we'll do board comments. Mr. Castro, we'll start with you.
Yeah, nothing much. Glad we had a decent turnout for Jump Fest. It's a great event that staff came up with, so looking forward to next year's event. That's pretty much it for me.
Mr. Cadenas?
Yeah. Like to reiterate, I'm glad Jump Fest went well, wasn't able to make it out. And I do agree we need to revamp our market night. I'm open to special events committee meetings
Staff working some proposals right now.
and also to touch base on the September events as well.
We need to, yeah, get something scheduled.
And yeah, that's it for me. Thank you, staff as well.
Mr. Ligia?
Yeah, I missed Jump Fest too. I had a family outing I had to attend, that I'd forgotten I had to attend. But, yeah, I went to market night this last week, and I think there may have been maybe a dozen people out there. Once again, the wind, I don't know what it is about that location. It's, seems to always be windy when we do it. So hopefully staff comes up with some good ideas on how to redo it, because I really think it'd be a great event if we could figure out how to do it the way it needs to be done. Yeah, looking forward to concerts in the park starting up.
Yep.
That's it for me.
Okay, thank you. Since our last meeting, I visited Pleasant Valley Park and Mountain View Park. They're out in Mariloma, and so not necessarily on my normal route in there, but it was great to drive past them and see what they look like, and they both look really good. My husband and I went out and had lunch at Glen Avon Heritage, enjoyed that last weekend. We don't have picnic tables in the shade at that park. They're just kind of scattered about. And so we sat on a bench because there was some shade there, but the bench was right by the playground, and there was the most adorable who was climbing and going down the slide and everything. And we just had a great time watching her and her mom. And that was really fun to see that there. Also, my husband and I did drop by Jump Fest. Forgot to bring our jackets. It was a little bit chilly, but man, there were some jumpers there that we had never seen before, anything like them. So that was really cool to see that. And I'm sure it was very cool for the people who were getting in the jumpers and things like that. And we also went out and checked out market night, and we're deeply distraught that the cinnamon roll guy was not there. So we didn't miss that. But we did get a bag of kettle corn to assuage our disappointment, and have been enjoying that. So yeah, lots of things going on, and it's been very enjoyable to check them out, check out some of the parks and things. As you see, the committee reports are attached, future committee meetings. We don't have any future committee meetings at the moment.
Not right now, we do need to
Okay.
schedule a special event meeting,
Okay.
we'll work on that.
Okay, well, our next meeting will be May 25th here, and then the one after that is June 8th. And with that, I will go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 7:29.